Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Neighborhood Services District 1 and 2 Community Virtual Meeting. I'm Jason Perez, your Neighborhood Services Coordinator for Districts 1 and 2. If you have any questions about anything neighborhood services related, please feel free to contact me at any time at 714-765-4398 or by email at jperez3@anaheim.net. Before we get started, if anyone needs Spanish interpretation, please click on the globe icon located on the bottom right of your Zoom screen and choose Spanish. If you're on your smartphone, simply click on the three dots on the bottom right side and choose Interpretation. Si necesita servicios de interpretación al español, favor de oprimir el botón con la imagen del globo localizado en el lado inferior derecho de su pantalla y elija Español. Si está usando su teléfono inteligente, favor de hacer clic en los tres puntos en el lado inferior derecho de su pantalla. Neighborhood Services District Community Meetings are a part of the Anaheim Neighborhood Improvement Program. This program assists residents to improve the livability of their neighborhood to, quote, help themselves through the creation of partnerships with the city and other stakeholders. When the COVID-19 pandemic started last year, we produced pre-recorded videos with important updates. Now, we are bringing you these Zoom webinars. We hope you find them useful and informative. However, we do hope to see you in person in the next coming months. If you have any questions during the webinar, please use the Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen and we'll do our best to answer your question at the end of the presentations. Before we get started, I would like to introduce your city council member for District 1, Councilmember Jose Diaz. He will be providing us with brief remarks. Councilmember Diaz, the floor is yours.
Sorry to interrupt, Jason. I don't see the councilman on. Sarah, do you know the councilman will be on?
He just told me he is on, and I'm just I know that the councilman just logged on, so it should have been his city email. Hopefully you can see.
Yeah,
I do see him online.
Okay, he's on now. I see him on now. Okay.
And
okay. Councilman Diaz?
Yes, now, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to this meeting. This is an important meeting that we have every so often to inform the community what are we doing. And we also learn from the community what are the issues and where we want to go from here. Also in this meeting is a council member from District 2. He's also committed, very committed to improve our quality of life here in West Anaheim. And with that, I don't want to take a lot of time, but welcome everybody. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Councilmember Diaz. Next, I would like to introduce Council Member for District 2, Councilmember Jordan Brandman, who is joining us this evening and will be providing us with brief remarks. Councilmember Brandman, the floor is yours.
I think you may be muted, Councilman Brandman.
Good evening, everybody. Apologies for being tardy to everyone, especially my colleague from District 1, Councilmember Diaz. I was able to hear him while I was setting up my Zoom link. And I also want to start off by saying thank you to so many people in West Anaheim for your thoughts and prayers to me these past few months. As many of you know, I was one of the very few who suffered the consequences, the side effects from one of the second COVID vaccine jab. And so really appreciate the the prayers and your support throughout this process. I am fully recovered. My colleagues and staff saw me last night, and I am very happy to report with my colleague, Councilmember Diaz, that because we as Anaheim never lost sight or spirit that we are a family, we that survived, and God rest the souls of the people who passed on, we made it through. And I really believe that we are stronger because of what we went through, as awful and horrific as it was. And we have a lot of things to be grateful for. I'm seeing several people on the panel, the grid right now, that I know I have a little more gratitude than I ever thought I would before COVID, and just very blessed to be here. And the staff, my dear neighbors, has a lot of good news to report, and just want you to know that come June 15th, which the entire city administration has known about, we are ready to re-implement all of the great work that we had to, because of the executive orders from Sacramento, we had to stay off and exempt for the last year, and we are ready to go. And that means that you will see an immediate improvement in quality of life. So many things that you have all indulged, suffered, will abate. And I just want to say thank you to the entire Anaheim staff team on this grid, because I know personally how hard you have been working, and it's great to be part of the team. Okay, thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. We appreciate you both joining us tonight. Let us go ahead and dive into our agenda. First up, Sergeant Pacwa with the West Community Policing Team will provide us with an update on current crime trends in West Anaheim and crime prevention tips. Sergeant Pacwa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jasonitis. Thanks for having me here. You're doing a fine job, sir. Whatever they're paying you, it's not enough. Council members, thank you for joining us tonight. I just want to cover some quick things. Catalytic converters seem to be kind of a big item still, not only in our city, but it's plaguing, Orange County and the country as well. I'll never understand why these things are so important, but they're getting stolen a lot. So what we need to do is we need to harden our own targets on that one. They're mostly occurring in the middle of the night. If you can park in a garage, park in a garage. If you can tell somebody, they don't want it to get stolen, etch your license plate or VIN number into your catalytic converter, because then when they try to turn it into money, a victim can be found. There's other things like you could install a skid plate on your car, but you just try to be a hard target. Park your car somewhere that it's not going to be a target. Is basically good advice on that. And if you do become a victim, you can go to anaheim.net and report the theft. And even if you don't think anything is going to be done, or you don't want to do it, we need this information. We need to capture where these thefts are occurring, and so we can set up and maybe try to fix that. Moving along, here we are, we're racing into the end of June here towards July. We're starting to get a lot of fireworks complaints, as we always do every year. So if anybody who's watching, or if anybody asks any of you what they can do about it, is a good way to do that was submit an AAR. You could call dispatch. You could send an email to me or any of my partners from the other community policing teams. But we're going to ask you, do you know who is setting them off? If you can provide a specific address or the person that's doing that, or even better, if they're selling them, provide that information to us, because it's something that we kind of have to see. And I'm sure Fire's on here, they can help out a little bit on that one. But we have to see it happening. And if we know that somebody is selling fireworks, then we can use the methods that we have to go after them and do that. So I'm sure we all know, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it out loud. The only fireworks that are allowed in Anaheim are the safe and sane type. only on the 4th of July and only from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. And they're not allowed east of the 55. So I'm sure people are going to ask you, hey, what kind of fireworks can we have? Only Safe and Sane, only on 4th of July, only between 10 and 10, and not east of the 55. Moving along, stuff I wanted to talk about. Sandra's probably going to talk about CCRT, so I won't steal her thunder on that one. National Night Out is still scheduled for August 3rd. Keep an eye on our social medias for that. If anybody ever asks you how they can get information about PD, our social medias are very active. The Instagram and Facebook, and I hear they have a pretty good Coffee with a Cop show every now and then. I'm told it's very entertaining. You should check that out. We're also hiring, so that's good. If you know any qualified candidates that want to be tip of the spear with us, we're hiring lateral officers and new officers. You can go to joinanaheimpd.com. Hey, Councilman, when you're done doing that, sign up, buddy. We'll take you. All right. Also, good news. We in the past we've gotten a lot of complaints about criminal activity and homelessness and stuff going on at Beach and Ball. So with help from Councilman Diaz and our chief, we've been doing a lot of saturation there. And although the problem's been going on for 40, 50 years, and it's never going to stop until the hotels go away, it actually is starting to look pretty good. We're starting to make a dent there, and I'm really proud of the efforts there, proud of what my team's doing there. And we did a Coffee with a Cop right there in the belly of the beast at Beach and Ball this past week. We had a lot of citizens come out, and so we're trying to take back that neighborhood, and it's starting to look pretty good. We've also been doing, with the help of parks and code enforcement, we've been doing a lot of park sweeps in the middle of the night, going out there and meeting up with the homeless that are sleeping in the park and getting them resources they need, getting them help, trying to do what we can to get them off the streets, because as you know, that's the priority, get them off the streets. Not in Lincoln out west is starting to pick up a little bit. So I think we're going to be focusing a lot of efforts there. Also, I've noticed, like in your district, Councilman Brandman, there's some railroad tracks that are going through there that some encampments are starting to spring up. So we have some operations planned, and we're working with Caltrans and the railroads to get out there and get those people, out of that dangerous environment to a place more safe and maybe get them some help. And 2960 West Lincoln, looks like the transients are back inside of that building and that whole area there. That's going to be a self-correcting problem when this redevelopment starts. So we'll start working on that. But I'm happy to say that as we race towards the end of this COVID thing, we are out there again. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing. We're trying to make a difference out there and beautifying the west end of Anaheim, and District 1 and District 2 are looking pretty good right now. That's all I got, sir. I'll be around for questions.
Thank you, Sergeant Paco, for that useful information. If you just joined us, please remember that you can ask a question during the meeting by pressing the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. We will be answering those questions at the end of the presentations. If you need Spanish interpretation, please click on the globe icon located on the bottom right side of your screen. Si necesita servicios de interpretación al español, favor de oprimir el botón con la imagen del globo localizado en el lado derecho de su pantalla.
Janine asked a question. Hi, Janine. Good to see you on here. Janine asked questions about when we do the park sweeps, do we take their property? No, we do not, unless they go to jail. If they have abandoned property there that they can't carry or they don't want, we have trucks there and we take it. But anything that they want, they can take with them. It is against a municipal code to be in the parks after it's closed. So the people that are out there, as well as getting offered outreach, they do get cited, and then they're let go unless there's another open charge where they go to jail. But any property that they want, we take it and hold it in safekeeping. So I hope that answers your question. We try not to. We don't want their property, but if there's nowhere else to go with it, we will definitely keep it safe for them, and they can come back and safely get it at another time. Where will National Night Out be? Jason, you know that answer?
Is it La Palma Park?
I believe it's La Palma Park. That's kind of what I'm hearing. Yeah, La Palma Park. I know there was a little bit of speculation back and forth when it's going to go, but man, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys all in person. Pretty excited.
Thank you very much, Sergeant Paco, for answering those questions. Again, for our attendees, please, your questions will be answered during the Q&A portion of this meeting by the panelists that can do so. Next, Community Preservation Manager Sandra Lozo will provide us with an update on the Community Care Response Team and other important code enforcement updates. Sandra, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Excited to see a lot of the faces and names on the participants tonight. So I wanted to provide some updates first on our community care response team. We're going to be putting up a slide, and also we have a web page. If you go to the anaheim.net/homeless, off the homeless web page, we also have our community care response team web page that you can get more information on. So this is our homeless webpage on everything we're doing to address homelessness. And just to that right is the community care response team. And you can get more information. This is a pilot program that we started January 1st. Thanks to our council members for allowing us to do this pilot program. It is a more robust outreach program. It was approved by council on December 15th and was active and ready to go by January 1st, which was a huge endeavor. To give you some background before we show the slide on the latest statistics, is our goal with this program. We had 4 goals. One was to really reimagine what we do when we get calls for service regarding homeless activity. And so we wanted to divert a lot of our calls that were non-emergency, non-criminal related from our police being the first responders to actually having skilled professionals. So our community care response team is actually made up of outreach workers, nurse practitioners, mental health clinicians, and then also plainclothes safety officers. Not only for the protection of the CCRT team out there, but also for the homeless individuals. And the reason for that is we do have this CCRT team working 7 days a week, 14-hour shifts, from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. as those were the majority of the calls coming in to our police dispatch. But again, we're about at our 6-month mark and making sure we're maximizing our effort on diverting calls for service away from our police department as first responders if we can, and give those to our skilled professionals. So that was a huge goal. Another goal, because this program is fully funded by the federal government funding of Emergency Solutions Grant. That funding is strictly for homeless and related to COVID. And so this program has really helped us provide personal protection equipment on the streets. It has helped us give out information on where to get tested and vaccinated. We have scheduled vaccinations at both of our shelters when we do have people that are willing and able to go into our shelter. And then we're working with some nonprofits like Cal Optima and the county to start taking some vaccination teams out into the streets so we can continue to slow the spread of any COVID out on those that are still on our streets. A third one was obviously to get more people sheltered. And so by having this program work 7 days a week, 14-hour shifts, our goal was to touch more of our homeless neighbors by being able to just follow up more with longer hours with our skilled professionals. So we are seeing the benefit of that. The other goal was to get a hotline set up for our community to call. And we're actually getting a lot of our homeless neighbors calling directly saying, I'm ready to go, I need shelter. And we're able at a moment's notice during those shifts to go help them, which is a huge benefit for us right now. And then the fourth goal was to regionalize our efforts, to really take this model and make it a more countywide approach and kind of lead that way. And so there's been a lot of talks, a lot of presentations. We're going to be presenting to the Orange County Human Relations Commission tomorrow. We made presentations to the Continuum of Care board with the county. And so there's this big momentum and shift on reimagining how we interact with our homeless and getting better resources out onto the streets and having a more robust outreach program. So I can tell you to date some statistics that we are already seeing, and we're going to be reporting out to council on a 6-month review so they're aware of where we're at. And we obviously, it's a pilot program, so good, bad, or ugly things going on, we're going to make adjustments, whether it's changing shifts, getting more resources, other things that we're learning throughout this program. So one of the things regarding diverting calls, we've been able to document close to 30% of the homeless calls coming into our police department have been diverted to CCRT. So our police dispatchers are doing a fantastic job kind of triaging calls coming in that are non-emergency, non-criminal related, and sending those directly over to our CCRT to go out and respond to. Normally, these types of calls are a priority 3 or 4 call, and Paqua can attest to what that means, but usually priority 1 or 2 calls are more of that criminal aspect that they need to get out to right away, or 911 calls. And so these priority 3 and 4 calls, normally that would be handled by the police, which a lot of these homeless activity calls come in, we're averaging about a 40-minute response time. At Anaheim CCRT right now, we're averaging about 15 minutes response time from the police dispatch call to where they're on scene for those particular calls. We're also addressing those direct community calls when someone calls in and needing assistance. We're trying to get out there as quick as possible, and we're getting that statistic as we're speaking right now. So for right now, we have diverted 30% of those calls each month, and we're evaluating the next set of calls that maybe we can divert from the PD, and trespassing is one of them. And we think that there may be at times some low-level trespassing calls that maybe the PD doesn't need to go and might be better served by having our skilled professionals go out there first. So we might be able to divert even more calls as we continue with the program, which is encouraging. Related to COVID, you can see on the screen the COVID engagements are reaching up to 1,200, meaning that's how many people that we've had engagements on, either providing PPEs, providing information and awareness on where to get tested, where to get vaccinated, and keeping them abreast of any other issues or concerns with COVID for those individuals. So again, meeting a good goal on that one. Regarding more sheltered, CCRT to date is averaging 3.3 people off the street a day. So that is a huge point. Right now, we are up to almost 300 people in our shelters. And we used to only have 325 beds, but thanks to Councilmember Brandman and his team effort at the council, we were able to add an additional 101 beds right before COVID. And so that was huge. And so when we're talking about almost 300 in our shelters right now, we still have an additional 130 plus beds available to continue to do our outreach and get more people off the street. We're also working on housing the people out of our shelter. So last December, we had the El Verano project that Andy Nagel and his great team had put together and opened up, which is a homeless senior facility. And we were able to get people out of our shelter that were homeless seniors and get them housed before Christmas. They're also working in Andy's shop on another project called Buena Esperanza, which is a motel conversion on the west side of town at Magnolia and La Palma, I believe. And that's going to be opening up in a couple months. And we're going to be able to, again, start to house more permanently some of our homeless from our shelters into wraparound permanent supportive housing, which is very exciting. And then the last one is the regionalization, and we continue to have meetings and presentations to continue to get the word out. A lot of cities have been calling. I just got a call from Santa Ana today. So a lot of interest on what we're doing and how we're doing it, which is exciting news. So I'm excited about that. I also know that there at times are crimes associated with our homeless neighbors out on the streets for a variety of reasons, trying to survive. So we do try and balance the outreach with enforcement, with the heavier on the outreach right now, especially with CCRT, which has been very beneficial. So for the west side of town, we do have a partnership with Caltrans and Union Pacific that are really helping us getting more people relocated into our shelters from their private properties before they do their cleanups. And so that's been really good. We've been being able to do more outreach. So we are going to be working on a lot of areas starting tomorrow on the west side of town and kind of moving easterly. So that's encouraging. As well as continuing to work in those hot spots like Beach and Ball and Magnolia and La Palma. And I know Sergeant Paquin and his team are doing a fantastic job And we've even had a booth with CCRT out on that corner for a day, just to try and really provide additional resources and help out that during that time. I'll move over to code enforcement, and then I believe we might have a question from one of our council members on clarifying. Regarding the code enforcement updates, the only big one I have right now is June 1st, we started back with all of our permit parking and timed parking enforcement. We did a lot of warnings and information months prior to that June 1st date, but just wanted to let everybody know, as we have been getting a lot of calls of wanting us to get out there and help with permit parking. So we are now doing that. So hopefully that will help with some of those calls coming in. But I'm happy to answer. I believe Councilmember Brandman had a question.
Thank you, Sandra. Just a question with regard to that mapping that you showed on the homeless. Can you put that map up again, if possible? So what I wanted to know is, because I remember the progress that we were making prior to COVID, and then the hot spot that developed again at Marshall that led to our Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah project of the 100 beds. And then we implemented that just as the pandemic came upon us. How much do you believe, and again, your expertise, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, how much of what we're seeing here do you think will abate as the state of emergency ends and the recovery takes full hold on all aspects of our society? Because it is, I mean, I have to believe that some of these spots are directly COVID related to displacement. Yes?
Some are, and those are great questions, Councilmember. We have run into, and even some people on this call have called our hotline saying there's a family in our park and they need help. And so we have seen that. We haven't seen a huge uptick, just a little bit right now. I'm a little more scared when the eviction moratoriums get lifted. I think that's where we're going to have, I think, a huge increase. But I know Andy and their team are really helping and pushing rental assistance, and as more federal dollars are coming down, really trying to prevent homelessness on that front. So we're trying to hit it on both ends, really prevent as much as we can. Our senior safety net program's been doing fantastic. But those that are falling out that may not know about our program, we're definitely getting them off the street quickly, especially families.
Thank you very much. And again, kudos to Andy. You've been keeping council and administration well informed and bringing us items to authorize so that we can make sure that any eviction threat to our residents is fully mitigated. And thankfully, the county and Sacramento are watching and they recognize Anaheim's leadership. I just want to say, I know that we have been working this issue for years and years and years. And I know that the neighbors, my neighbors, we're exhausted, we're fatigued, we're spent. But we know that we were all in this together, and we had to be patient, and you re-implementing permit parking and the code enforcement regulations on June 1st and cycling everything in is evidence that Anaheim is keeping their word. The only thing I ask, well, there's lots of things I ask, but what I do ask is, and I know you have none of you have ever been bashful, but please know, as it relates to resourcing, if there's something that you need, please Bring it, make sure you bring it to council as you have done the entire time, pre-COVID and post-COVID, and we will take the appropriate actions. I know. And I know I'm certain as the sun rises and sets that Councilmember Diaz agrees with me based upon what he said last night at council. So thank you all very much.
Sandra, I just want to confirm, is that the end of your
Yes.
thing? Okay, great. Thank you.
Sorry, thank you. And then I'll go into the Q&A and answer direct questions, and then we can wrap it up at the end if there's any others. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra, for that information. Next, we have public works staff that will provide us with information on the organic waste reduction legislation in California. Solid Waste Administrator Dora Delgadillo will kick off the presentation. Dora, the floor is yours.
Hi, thank you. First, I want to say thank you to all of you for attending this presentation, taking time from your busy schedule to join us. And the city of Anaheim has an extended team of professional solid waste consultants, and one of them is economics, and Lisa Robles is here. She will be presenting to all of us regarding this new recycling law. We also have Sandra and also Mark with the City of Anaheim Planning Department, and also Michael Johnson with Republic Services. They will be able to assist with any questions that you might have at the end of this presentation. So thank you so much. And Lisa, the floor is all yours. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, can everyone hear me? Yeah, awesome. Okay, my name is Lisa Robles. I work for Economics, Inc. I'm a solid waste consultant, and I work very closely with the City of Anaheim Public Works Department, and I assist them with implementing solid waste and recycling programs and making sure that they're staying in compliance with all of the trash and recycling laws that there are in the state of California. So today we're going to be talking about some new California recycling goals. There's two main goals coming up, and one really big one, and a main one is California has this goal to recycle or compost 75% of organic waste that goes to landfills by 2025. So that is one of their main goals. Another goal is to rescue leftover edible food waste by 20% for people to eat. So instead of throwing edible food waste in the trash, we want to try to capture some of it for donation purposes. And the state of California is really focusing on organic waste. And so organic waste is actually made up of three things. It's all of your food waste, it's all of your paper and cardboard, and it's also all of your yard waste. So think of anything that breaks down or decomposes is really your organic waste. And so they are targeting organic waste. And the reason that they're targeting organic waste is because we have a lot of it. We have so much organic waste. And when we're just looking at food waste by itself, California throws away 5.6 million tons of food waste every year, which is a lot of waste. And so California really wants to try to take that out. And when I know it's hard to imagine what 5.6 million tons is. And so really what that is equivalent to is 72,000 Boeing airplanes worth of organics going to landfill per day. So that is how much food waste, yard waste, paper, cardboard waste we have. And so that is a lot of airplanes going to the landfill. And so what happens is when you throw away your food waste at your house, your trash truck, the trash company, Republic Services picks it up. And some of it, well, most of it actually goes to the landfill. And what happens with that food waste is as it decomposes in the landfill, it creates gases like carbon dioxide and methane. And organic waste specifically produces methane in the landfill. And what that does is it contributes to greenhouse gases and climate change. And so not only are we creating these gases? We're also running out of space in landfills. And so what the state of California is doing, the state agency, which is known as CalRecycle, in order to address all of this food waste, yard waste, cardboard and paper that is going to the landfill, they passed this law. It's the California Senate passed a bill called SB 1383. It's also known as the Organic Waste Methane Law. And really what this law does, well, it actually focuses on a lot of things. And so one of them is the state is requiring the city to provide not only yard waste services, but also food waste services to residents and businesses. The state is also mandating for local jurisdictions. And so jurisdictions is all of the cities in California have to adopt a local ordinance enforcing this new state law. And so a local ordinance is just like a local law that enforces the state law. Part of SB 1383 is also developing programs for inspection and compliance, establishing the edible food recovery programs for businesses, conducting public outreach, and also developing procedures and programs to impose penalties for non-compliance. And so this regulation really kicks in 2022, but we have until 2024 to trigger those penalties for non-compliance. And so SB 1383 is going to be affecting everyone. It's going to be everyone in the whole state of California, from residents to businesses. And so what this really means for residents at home is it will require recycling food waste at home. And so all of your food scraps from your cooking and your old moldy bread and your old moldy vegetables that you forgot to cook in your refrigerator, all of that is going to be captured and recycled. And so we anticipate this program beginning sometime in 2022. We are in the initial stages of planning currently. This is just an example of what a food scrap collection container looks like. This is a kitchen pail. Not only will it affect you inside of your kitchen, inside of your house, but it also affects your carts if you live in a single family residential dwelling. And so really what's going to happen is your yard waste will potentially become your organics cart. And I say potentially because we are still in those initial beginning stages of developing the program. So some of the planning is subject to change, but we are anticipating that your yard waste will be your organics container, where you'll be mixing your food waste with your yard waste. Your recycling will continue as is. You should already be recycling your paper and cardboard at home, along with your glass, your bottles, your aluminum cans, and so forth. And then placing loose in your cart, of course. And then for your trash, you should be bagging your trash, and your trash is still your styrofoam, your dirty soil tissue papers, sandwich bags, chips, wrappers, pet waste, greasy pizza boxes. And not only will this be affecting residents, but it will also be affecting the business community. So the business community, some businesses are actually already recycling organic waste because they're subject from another regulation called AB 1826 commercial organic waste. But what SB 1383 does is it enforces the recycling of those organic materials. So it becomes a local law, and you have some kind of penalty mechanism associated with it. And then some businesses with SB 1383, depending on the type of businesses, will need to also recover edible food waste. So food waste that they would normally throw throw away at the end of the day. That is still good for consumption. And so right now what we're doing is we're in the process of drafting a local ordinance. So we're in those initial stages. We are collaborating with the city's hauler, Republic Services, on deciding how the program is going to work. And what those services and rates will look like. And then we will continue doing education and outreach. We'll be drafting notices, flyers, brochures. You'll be seeing articles in your Recycle Anaheim newsletters. And so those are the next really big 3 steps for us as we plan for this new recycling law called SB 1383 here in the city of Anaheim. So my name is Lisa Robles, and I'm with Economics Inc. And I'm here to assist Public Works in setting up these programs and making sure we stay in compliance with the state law. Thank you.
Thank you, Dora and Lisa, for that information. Community Investment Manager Andy Nogel will now provide us with an update on the exciting development activity occurring on Beach Boulevard. Andy, the floor is yours. Andy, if you might be muted.
Sorry, I apologize. It took me a bit to figure out the mute button. Can you all see my presentation, hopefully?
Yes, we can.
Perfect, perfect. Well, thank you all. I appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening and present to all of you an update of the proposed development at the southeast corner of Beach Boulevard and Lincoln Avenue. Before I do that, however, I wanted to acknowledge Council Members Diaz and Brandman. First and foremost, thank you for your comments. Really appreciate your support. Clearly, without your support and the rest of the council, these projects are really difficult to develop for many reasons. Funding being one, and going through the entitlement process being the other. So also very important to mention the community. The community plays a huge role in these projects. And, you know, we as a department, along with our planners, we look at these projects not just for providing affordable housing, but also developing responsible projects that take into consideration the impacts that they might have in the community. So just to reassure you, as we look at these projects going forward, we look at them from the standpoint of how do we impact communities? How can we develop these projects to ensure that we are lessening the impacts to the extent feasible? So just be reassured that, you know, staff and council really take that into consideration as we approve these projects. So with that, I want to give you a brief overview of the project to start, and then I'll give you a brief update as to where we are in the process. So for all of you that are not familiar with this project, this is known as the 39 Commons 2. Excuse me. Can you all see it now? So this is the 39 Commons 2 mixed-use, mixed-income development proposed to be developed at the southeast corner of Beach and Lincoln Avenue. So just for orientation, the project site is identified in the yellow outline, and once again is located at the southeast corner of Lincoln and Beach Boulevard. And for those of you that are familiar also with the 39 Commons development that is directly to the northeast of this site. And I'm also happy to report that that project had a groundbreaking last month and is now underway. So I know there's a lot of people here this evening that were waiting patiently, anticipating that project to move forward. Just for orientation also, some pictures. I'm going to start from the top going to the right. The top left is a picture of the tool shack there. That site will house a portion of the development involving home for sale townhomes. The picture on the right, top right, is the Shell station location, and that is the future site of a retail component, which will also be part of the development. The bottom right picture is showing the site where the affordable rental development will go. And the bottom left shows both the affordable rental and the homeownership component looking in a southeasterly direction. So this is the site plan for the proposed development. As you can see, it's a fairly large site where it's comprised of just over 7 acres. It is a mixed use component with 3 different components. One is the affordable rental development, which will house 100 units of affordable rental units for persons that are between 30% and 60% area median income. The project will also involve a second component, which involves for sale homeownership units, approximately 134 units 14 of which will be available for low to moderate income buyers as well. And the last component is a retail component, which will consist of approximately 5,000 square feet of space available for a variety of, whether it be restaurants or retail operations. We still don't have the users there, so I don't have that to share, but that is something that will be forthcoming and will serve not just the development itself, but also the residents in the neighborhood surrounding the site. This is just to show there will be amenities provided for the affordable rental component. It'll be a rooftop deck that'll provide outside lounge area for the residents, a tot lot for the young children, a large open area for recreational activities, and a half court for the teenagers. Along with that, there'll be amenity space within the building. You'll have a large community room that will open up into the open area for an indoor-outdoor space opportunity, and that will provide services for all of the residents within the affordable rental development. This is some elevations of the proposed development. It's going to be a 5-story development, again, 100 units in a contemporary style design that will be a huge asset for this neighborhood. Going back to the site plan, just to show where the townhome locations are, I will go into the elevations next. Excuse me, this is the amenity, the elevations will be next. This is the amenity that will be provided for the homeownership component, which will involve a recreational area for children, as well as a green space and a lounge area immediately adjacent to that green space. These are the elevations that reflect the townhome development, which is 3 stories in a contemporary architectural motif. This is another elevation of the homeownership component. And this is a rendering of what you'll see looking southeast on Beach Boulevard. This shows both the affordable rental component and also the homeownership. So with that, that concludes the overview of the presentation. I'm happy to report that our City Planning Commission approved the project on April 26th, and subsequently to that, our City Council approved funding for the project on May 18th of this year. There is one aspect that still requires council approval, and that's the homeownership and the retail component that will come to council hopefully in the next month or so. However, the affordable rental component is in motion. They just submitted their funding application yesterday and are expecting hopefully to hear back before the end of the year. If all goes well, we can start construction on this project in February of 2022. And the other pieces, components of this project will come thereafter, since it is a phased project. So, but again, we're excited about the opportunity to bring this forward, and be happy to answer any questions that anybody may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy, for that update. Fire Inspector Adrian Abel is here to provide us with information on fire prevention as we enter the summer season. Adrian, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everybody. How are you? I'm going to speak a bit on fire prevention. Obviously, with the summer months coming up, there's a lot of, it's a big word, so that can encompass a lot of things. I know 4th of July is coming up, and there's some issues with that, and pool safety, and we'll touch a little bit about that. But most importantly, what I want to talk about is fire prevention in the home, and that's something that that's year round, no matter what time of the year. That there's obviously some important aspects of fire prevention in the home that I want the residents to that I want to touch upon to the residents. And if we have a slide that we can pop that up. And so with that, what we're talking about, like I said, most importantly, is fire prevention in the home. If you can go to the next slide. So one of the cornerstones of a fire prevention in the home, especially the most important part of it, is our smoke alarms. So I cannot emphasize that enough. I know recently, earlier this year, in April, we did have a fire death in a home, and as a result of that, we preliminary figured out that, there were no working smoke alarms in the house. So this happens a lot, and we want to touch upon that. 3 out of 5 home fires result from the fires in properties without working smoke alarms. So it's important that we touch upon that. If we go to the next slide. So it's important that we properly test and replace these smoke alarms. So we ask you that you test your smoke alarms once a month by pushing the little button that they have on them. Well, we used to ask you to and then replace all the smoke alarms within about 10 years or so. We used to ask you to check your smoke alarms and replace your batteries back in the day every time you change your clocks. But now the new smoke alarms that are coming in on the market, they have actually 10-year batteries. So they actually do, by state law, those are required now. So you won't find any of these batteries that you can replace type of smoke alarms. So any batteries that are coming on the market, or any smoke alarms that are coming on the market now have the 10-year span batteries already built into the smoke alarm. So once after that 10 years is expired, you basically buy a new smoke alarm. If we can go to the next slide. So what is required of the smoke alarm? So, well, they're required in every bedroom in your home and in the common hallway, and in any other either basements or areas in that. They're not required in the garage, or most importantly, people seem to think that they're required in the kitchen, and they're not required in the kitchen. Obviously, if you have them in the kitchen, they're going to go off, constantly as we cook and burn our food all the time. So, but most importantly, they're there to kind of be there closer to our rooms and to the common hallways to those rooms, and on each level there, so as to alert us during a fire in the middle of the night. So most of the fire deaths that have occurred in the United States have happened between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. So when most people are asleep. So that's what the emphasis on those smoke alarms in those areas are. If we can go to the next slide here. And one thing I do want to touch upon as well as while we sleep is to close your door before you go to bed. I emphasize this many times, as you can see in the slide here on the right. These are actually 2 rooms that are side by side from each other during a house fire. So one door on the right obviously was left open, and the other door was left closed during the same fire, right? As smoke travels through the house, that smoke will find its way through all those areas, and that smoke actually is combustible. At some point, that smoke will ignite, and the smoke is in those rooms will then ignite that room. It's miraculous how just simply keeping the door closed will keep a lot of smoke and fire out of that room. So you can have an entire devastated house. I can open a door and I will see that room almost pristine. Obviously, there'll be some smell, there'll be some little bit of soot in there, but for the most part, it does buy you time as well when you sleep. So if you hear a smoke alarm and you feel the door and it's hot outside, it does buy you some time. I've been a fire investigator now for I think over 15 years, and so I've seen numerous houses during these fire investigations where I've encountered that. If we go to the next slide. So currently now, to kind of help address that smoke alarm program, the smoke alarm issue, Anaheim provides, Anaheim Fire and Rescue obviously provides for any home, condo, or townhome, or mobile home in Anaheim, Anaheim Fire and Rescue will deliver a free smoke alarm, and to cover those areas that we discussed, those in the bedroom, the common hallways, and we will go out there and drop off those smoke alarms. We did used to install them ourselves, obviously, until the COVID came upon that, so we had to kind of scale that back. But we will still, if you call that number at 714-765-4036, you can schedule with one of our personnel, and we can go ahead and make a drop off of those smoke alarms to your residents. Next slide. Next, obviously, it's the next part of that fire prevention is obviously being prepared. So we want you to plan ahead when a fire breaks out, and have a home escape plan. Always know 2 ways out. Identify a meeting place and practice. So if we go to the next slide. So a home escape plan. So it's always important that you try to get, when you possibly can, get with your family and draw up a plan about how to escape out of your house. Discuss this plan with everyone in your home and find a good meeting place after you escape from the home so that you can all meet. And everybody should be aware of the plan. So it's just as simple as drawing up a small little map, showing the rooms and where you guys plan to meet or escape if the fire breaks out in the house. If you go to the next slide. And once again, always know 2 ways out of every room. So obviously you have your front door or the entrance into the room, and obviously you have windows or escape windows. I know some people might live on a 2nd story, but that may be still a viable exit or area. I know that there are some of the home improvement stores that do sell escape ladders. They're on the market out there. They are legal, and they do work. So if that's something that's that you might be interested, you can go to your local Lowe's or Home Depot or any other home improvement store in the city and pick one of those up. So they are recommended if that's something that you wish to do or you feel you can do. Obviously, again, having a meeting place outside, a tree, a light pole, mailbox, anywhere where you're familiar, and obviously where your children are familiar to meet outside. Our first priority at every fire is life safety. I know that we get there and we're looking to put that fire out, but a group of our firefighters, once they arrive, their first priority is to ensure, or find out who's in the house and if anybody's out of the house. So if you're already outside of the house and you have a common meeting area and we can account for those people, that gives us a little bit of relief, because now we can just deal with the fire. If people are missing, and then we're going to assume that those people are in the house, and we are going to take a much more serious action to try to save those people in there. So it's important that you account for those people. If they end up being somewhere else and we're trying to rescue somebody that may not be in there, it really does put the firefighters at risk as well. So it's important that you do try to have a meeting place and that you're able to account for your family once you get outside. And then we can be assured that we can safely fight that fire without having to deal with that specific issue as well. And the next slide. And once again, practice, practice, practice. I know it sounds hard to get your family together all the time and meet with them and practice this kind of skill, but it is important. I think in the long run, it will benefit your family and yourself and give you a big peace of mind. Those who live in large houses or apartment complexes, the same thing. It's always beneficial to practice these drills with your family together. So next slide. So if you have any questions or any issues, especially with the smoke alarm program, feel free to contact us. We have more fire prevention subjects and matters on our website, and you can go access that on www.anaheim.net/fire. And our general line phone number 714-765-4040. And that's what I wanted to touch upon, at least on the fire prevention end of it. Lastly, just given the time I have at the moment here, I just did want to talk about briefly, we're coming up to the summer months, and obviously people are going to be out there enjoying their time out in the pools if you have one, or out in the swimming area, or if you have an apartment complex, the common pool area. So just most importantly, especially for the children, always keep children within arm's reach. Remove items that a child could climb onto or get over a fence in a pool area. Designate a water watcher. Never swim alone, and and install proper barriers, especially around the pools. So, and if, you know, and that's mostly the most important part. So, and if a child does go missing, if you have a pool, always want to check the pool first. So I have been on calls and over my years in my 20 years in the fire service where I have witnessed that. You know, we were looking for a child that was already in the pool and nobody had checked the pool. So it does happen. So as we come up to these summer months, I really do encourage people to you know, take heed of that information and be just extra careful these summer months. I know we're excited to get out and get family members over with COVID starting to, you know, wind down. And I want to make sure that everybody has a really safe summer. And with that, I conclude my presentation.
Thank you, Adrian, for that useful information. So we've arrived to the Q&A portion of our meeting, which is a great opportunity for our participants to ask questions not answered by the material presented. One thing I have to commend our panelists for is that while the presenters were educating us on their particular specialties and updates, our other panelists were on fire answering questions online. Currently, we have only one open question in the chat from Connolly, which is currently being answered by Andy Nogle, but I'll go ahead and mention it for the public anyway. What about the alleyways? With the widening of Brookhurst Street, this caused for more actions in the alleys because they are backed up to the street. We have constant drugs, rapes, and homeless in our alley. We call on these activities, but have not had great response. So I know I've got Andy as answering the question online, but maybe someone, let's see, Andy.
Or should I just answer? Maybe it's best if you go ahead and answer it. Yeah, so there's concerns regarding illicit activity on the alley. We recognize that certainly is an area of concern, has been an area of concern of ours in our department. And as I mentioned earlier, we are really critical about those concerns out there in that neighborhood. Part of what we wanted to do and feel we can do as part of this development is have certain requirements regarding lighting. There will be improvements that are now or develop units that will be facing the alley and you know, having eyes and ears. I know our friends in PD can ascertain that when you put eyes and ears into an area that is dark, a dark space, and is an area that has typically had illicit activity, you tend to have a turnaround because you know now you're going to have residents, you're going to have people calling PD and addressing any potential issues in those areas. However, having said that, we will implement measures such as lighting, walls, things that will help to address any activities out there in that alley. And I think I'm very familiar with the issues out there. And once again, we are doing everything we can as part of this development to ensure that we are implementing measures to assist and help improve the situation out there along that alley.
Hey, can I piggyback on what Andy was saying on that one? I feel like this question was a kind of a partner effort on that one. If you're having problems in your alley that are criminally related, and after you call the police, you feel like we didn't show up or it took us too long to get there, just know that we have a record of that call occurring and a problem happening there. So when we look at the heat map at the end of the month, at the end of the quarter, at the end of the year, this is how we determine where our resources are going to go. That's why we need this partnership with the community. A lot of times we don't know if problems are happening unless somebody, you know, the members of the public tell us that it's happening. So please continue to call if you see, you know, people in the alleyways or crime occurring on that way, because this way when we restructure our patrol division and we know where to put more officers, then your area with the problems will get more police assistance. And then remember, you can also request patrol checks, call directly into dispatch, and they'll send cops out there when they're not doing something else to drive through there for police presence. And then also the Anaheim Anytime requests are very, very useful, especially for my office and the other community policing sergeant's office. So let's work together and see if we can't get this problem solved for you, or at least make it better.
Great, thank you very much for those answers. I do have one open question before I move on to additional announcements. Will today's agenda be offered to the other districts, or is this only for District 1 and 2? The agendas for all district meetings will be available, actually are currently available on the Neighborhood Services website under the District Community Meetings section or tab. We'll go ahead and provide you that website at the end of the meeting as well. Thank you. Okay, one more question before I move on. From Francis Valencia, we have a lot of racing activity over Magnolia. It's very frustrating that so many accidents and it's not stopping. It's increasing a lot. We have 3 accidents in between Lincoln on Crescent. Which panelist would like to go ahead and answer that?
I'll take a stab at that one. Again, I'm going to refer back to the Anaheim Anytime request. We need to know that that's happening. I know that our traffic detail, now that the new municipal code has been passed, and we're slowly starting to enforce those municipal codes and get some enforcement on that. Hopefully, very soon you'll start seeing that decrease. However, the summer months are coming up, and that's where we do see a lot of that. But if you could call dispatch or put in an Anaheim Anytime request, remember, we have very few traffic cops and very few motors out there. So we need to know, like, if this problem is happening on Magnolia and you see the speeders there, obviously we know about the accidents. If you can give a general date and time that these things are occurring, they'll put somebody there for you. And that's my area. So I'd encourage you to maybe shoot me an Anaheim Anytime request, Sergeant Pacwa, and I'll see if I can't put some motors over there and we can mitigate that problem. I mean, I was aware there were some accidents there, but I didn't realize there was street racing on Magnolia. That's kind of new to me. I thought that was a Brookhurst thing. So thank you very much for your question.
We have one more open question being answered currently by Andy Nogal.
May I?
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, Sergeant, I wanted to just add on to what you were saying. It's going on Lincoln as well, as you well know. And when this started at the beginning, oh gosh, in summer after COVID started, the summer, I actually took audio of the cars that were racing because I wanted my neighbors to realize I am hearing it right outside on my balcony from my apartment. And would it be possible just for you, Sandra, or whoever is the point on it, to discuss the reforms that we approved at the council that police, the APD and code enforcement recommended, and how we will be implementing those full force along with everything else as the state of emergency ends and as we build back the sworn force to optimal staffing levels. Could you just give us a minute on that?
That one for Sandra or for me?
I
just know that
one is for you, one is however you want to do it.
I'll answer what I know, and I
Sure.
agree with you on this one, Councilman. This street racing, it's very frustrating to me. It's something that hits home with me because it's so unsafe. I mean, it's okay. I mean, if you want to go out there and risk yourself in your car, that's one thing, but you're risking everybody else's safety, and that's something that really bothers me. So that's why we take these very serious when we get these street racing complaints. So that's why the municipal code, the highlight of it is once you get through all the minutiae is we're going to go after the spectators, because people do these donuts and do these racing because they like to be seen by the crowds and before it in the filming. So these new municipal codes are meant to go after the spectators, to start holding them accountable for being there. So we figure if by turning off the faucet, the sink's not going to overflow anymore instead of just cleaning up the water. You know how that analogy goes, but that's basically the nuts and bolts of it. We're going to be starting to go after the spectators on these.
No more rebels without a cause in West Anaheim, okay? Sandra, did you have anything to say on that?
Sorry, I was muted.
Oh, no
Not on
worries.
not on the street racing, but I know the PD, they were doing some creative stuff on damages to the streets, and obviously they're street racing to get attention, and I think hitting the spectators is going to help a little bit too. But yeah, the PD is definitely taking the lead and doing as much as they can at this point.
Thank you both.
Great, thank you everyone for this wonderful question and answer session. And I am seeing that some additional questions, maybe some commentaries are coming in, but in the interest of time, we do have to move on. Those unanswered questions that were not addressed in our meeting today will have answers attached to them and will be viewable on the Neighborhood Services website, anaheim.net/neighborhoods, along with the contact information of tonight's presenters. With that said, we're going to move forward with some of these additional announcements. The Anaheim Public Art Master Plan will create a roadmap for how we begin to activate our many communities to implement and enjoy public art while also celebrating Anaheim's spirit and artistic expressions. You can find more information about the Public Art Plan initiative at www.anaheimpublicart.org. So I'm sure the burning question in all your minds tonight is, how can you get involved? Well, anyone who lives, works, or invests in the city of Anaheim is encouraged to be involved in shaping the Public Art Master Plan. Here's how. You can start by telling us about your neighborhood by taking the Community Character Survey. This is very important to our process, so please take a moment to fill it out today. Get creative by submitting an idea or image of what makes Anaheim interesting, unique, or a great place to call home. And lastly, take the project survey to share your ideas and vision for public art in Anaheim. You will also notice a special treasure hunts for each district listed on the website in which you can participate. Get outside and explore your neighborhood as we celebrate Anaheim's treasures with a month-long treasure hunt sponsored by the Community Services Public Art Master Plan effort. Locate each treasure within your district and take a selfie with them. Submit one selfie with your favorite treasure and take the Public Art Master Plan survey for a chance to win one of 6 treasure chests filled with swag from our local businesses. You can find all the surveys and more information about the Public Art Plan initiative at www.anaheimpublicart.org. Help shape the future of community policing in Anaheim by applying for the Police Review Board. There is one vacancy for a District 1 representative. Applicants must live in District 1 and can apply at www.anaheim.net/PRB. For more information, you can also call 714-765-5162. The city's manager's office will soon be working with the community to get input on what's important to Anaheim residents and stakeholders and what should be included in the city's mission and values statement. Please keep an eye out as more information will be coming soon. In closing, I'd like to invite you to visit our Neighborhood Services website at anaheim.net/neighborhoods or call us at 714-765-4456 to learn more about our services and the ways we can work together to improve your neighborhood. Thank you for joining us this evening, and goodbye.